folks, and welcome to another day in the Milky Way. And tonight we're going to have a great show all about learning. And with my co-host, Dalibor Suchy, thank you for coming, our residential scientist, wizard, and much more.
Pleased to be here.
Anyway, tonight we're going to talk about good facts, obscure facts, and things you didn't know. We're just going to have a good all-around fun night about talking about things that, well, you probably wouldn't think about on a normal basis. But somehow or another, you've been in the thick of it the whole entire time. You just missed it. That's all. You just missed it. So that's where we're going to go from here.
Sounds
and if
good.
Anybody would like to join us tonight, I did put the StreamYard link in the comments. And come on in if you got something good to bring up, a topic you want to discuss with us with this this show. But we're going to start out with some cool stuff. I got pictures, of course. We got pictures of stuff. And I think we're going to start out with, let's do a fun one. And, I got to get the fun one here. Okay. So I got to put up some stuff. You know how this goes. And then pictures take forever. So what do you know about horny toads?
It's a type of toad, which is a type of frog. Horned toads, I guess they're horned because they have tough skin or horns.
Yeah, they do. They do.
Sort of.
And I have a picture of this. Look, we got Nina. Nina's coming to join us tonight. Hello, and thank you for joining us.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
It's going great.
Pretty good, yeah.
Great. I'm glad to have you with us tonight. Let's see, hang on. I'm getting distracted here. But thank you for coming on. Don't forget, everybody, tomorrow night I will be on Nina's show, and we're going to be talking about that red heifer. I think they killed that red heifer on Monday. Ooh, but let's not give away all the secrets.
You must have some information that I don't have then. So there you go. We are learning.
Yeah, that's right. Anyway, so tonight we're going to talk about this. This is a horny toad, old Rip. Did you know that he was one of the most famous animals in the United States back in the day and in the early 1900s? Believe it or not.
Why?
Is it actually called a horny toad?
Yes, it's actually called a horny toad.
That's where that comes from. Okay, all right.
There's all kinds of animals, and which one could you think was the most famous? It was none other than a horny toad located in Texas, a horned lizard. This fictitious Rip Van Winkle of a lizard. As you know, lizards have like a kind of property to them where they can hibernate, and that's how he got his fame. He was he rose to stardom in 1928. Originally, this scaly fellow was named Blinky and was owned by a young Texan named Willie Wood. Go figure. Now, don't obscure that bit.
So Wood had a horny toad. I get it. Yeah.
I told you we're going to have some fun with this tonight.
Now I know where it all comes from. All right.
Yeah. So on July 31st, 1897. Ernest Wills, his father, took Blinky, his little boy's horny toad, and for an unscheduled visit to the Eastland, Texas courthouse, which was under construction at the time. And there the man decided to seal this lizard in the building's foundation with a copy of the Holy Bible. Got to keep that lizard alive with that Bible, Well, lizards in Texas, being a hot, dry climate, they have unique biology, and they can live in harsh environments, and then they hide in the dirt and the mud or whatever, when things start doing bad, when it's good, they're out roaming around. When it's bad, they hide, and they can live for months and months, and maybe even years. And it was always the rumor that a horny toad could live for 100 years. And
Mhm.
well, he decided to prove this fact. So he took the lizard, he buried it in the courthouse in the foundation. Well, 30 years after Blinky's entombment, a new courthouse was needed. 30 years it was falling apart in the city of Eastland, Texas. As the city courthouse, the old city courthouse was being demolished, his dad, Ernest, decided to dig up the horny toad lizard. He began to drum up the hype. Hey, I'm going to dig up the lizard. Well, on February 18th, 1928, in front of an audience of several thousand people, including priests, armed guards, Blinky was removed from the cornerstone. And to the shock and glee of the audience, he was alive after 30 years of being buried in the corner with the Bible. That's probably what kept him alive, is that Bible.
Oh my God.
What do you think of that?
30 years with no food or water?
No food, no water.
It's beside the fact, but no air, right?
No air, yeah.
No air.
Well, it says here that lizards can weather through cold, drought, or lack of food. They're bizarre creatures. They can slow their metabolic needs to a standstill, essentially walking the razor's edge between life and death until conditions improve. So there you go. They can go and stuff like that.
I think it's a hoax. I think it's a hoax because, if he was entombed inside a cornerstone, that means he didn't have any access to any air. And while there are certain animals that can go into a stasis where their needs for nutrition are minimalized, where they go into a sort of hibernation, where they can tone that down to a minimum, you can't tone it down to zero. You can only live off stored fat like bears do over the course of the average winter, but you can't do it for 30 years. So that's impossible. There must have been some kind of trickery involved where he like the day before, he entombed it before disinterring it, So that's what must have happened. Some kind of a bait and switch, or what do they call it? Sleight of hand.
That I do not know. All I can say is what I'm seeing in the record books here. But there are. I read up on them a little bit, and it says that there's frogs that can do this, and all kinds of critters, that have the government's actually studied this stuff. But the weird part is they used this and they drummed it up, and it became a big, hit. And then and you're right. The public can be easily fooled.
But see, one superpower that they do have that no other animal has is the fact that they can breathe underwater and they can breathe in the air. Unlike fish that are adapted to only breathe underwater through gills, or other animals like ourselves that can only breathe air. But these guys can do both. And that in and of itself is incredible.
That is. It's worth a look.
Yeah, you can't drown a frog or a toad.
That is true. That is true. So after he came to life, either real or fake, they named him Old Rip. And the word for the poor lizard, flashbulbs blaze, creating a hilarious picture where the only person who appeared to feel real joy was the holder of the undead reptile. He was in the New York Times. And they published his name in papers and sprinkled it across covers of science and locals newspapers, and claimed to be the most famous animal since the serpent in the Garden of Eden. And this reached all around the world until he earned a visit to the President of the United States, Calvin Coolidge himself. Believe it or not. And there's Old Rip resting in a box to this day. Only after 11 months in the limelight, and the little critter took his leave to the great beyond and croaked. Yeah.
After 30 years. years of being in the wall.
Yeah, I think the attention was just too much for him.
Right.
And okay, but here's the thing: old Rip may have only had 11 months on this earth, but he became a very famous, and people still celebrate his legacy is carried on today in Old Eastland with Old Rip Day and a Rip Fest, believe it or not. And you too can go to Texas and join in Rip Fest, of course.
That's crazy.
To perpetuate this, they even have an oath you can take. A Rip oath that reads, to vow perpetuate the truth of Old Rip, so help me God. There you go.
You know what? That reminds me of another famous animal. I thought that the most famous animal, like freak animal, would have been this headless chicken. And this was around that same time where there was a guy that wanted to kill a chicken to eat, and he chopped off his head with the neck and everything. And instead of dying, this chicken just started running around and just continued living. Yeah. And normally they do survive for a couple of minutes, or sometimes up to a couple of minutes. But this guy, he just kept going and going. So he decided to start feeding him, and he was just feeding him by putting in like bits of grain or barley or whatever into his neck, and he would like digest it. And yeah, he was actually a living chicken with no head and no neck. But here's the thing. Yes, that's him. That's the thing, that the brainstem in some of these chickens can be like very deep in the body. It's not necessarily, up in the head area. So, which explains the phenomenon known as why they use the term bird brain, because they actually do have very small brains. But it's definitely a phenomenon. Yeah.
That's the funniest thing I ever did.
And this chicken lived and survived like that for years and years, which is very creepy when you think about it, because this guy had no senses, right? He couldn't taste, couldn't hear, couldn't see. Must have been pretty miserable.
They should have just finished him off. Like.
Yeah.
Jesus.
There's his head.
Yeah, lived 18 months. Yeah.
Oh my God! Yeah, this is the craziest. There is his head. I tell you, it's kind of sad, but it's kind of amazing that the poor bird stayed alive. I guess he died after he, Oh, there's another one. Stream of headless chicken snapped his better half. Anyway,
he's running around like a chicken with his head cut off.
That's right. I guess he lived for like 18 months, and they would put eyedroppers of, down his neck to keep him alive, which I thought is funny.
Oh my God, that's just mean. I don't know.
Yeah.
Mike is Mike the headless chicken, huh?
Poor Mike.
Yeah, crazy things.
That's definitely cruel.
Yeah. 18 months without a head after failed beheading. Mike was left with a part of his brain stem and an ear, and the farmer fed him with an eyedropper, and he became a sideshow sensation, earning the nickname Miracle Mike.
Yeah, this is back in the era when you still had sideshows, before the political sensibilities of the people turned, and they came to see that as exploitation of weaker people.
Yeah. Yeah, the bearded lady, and
Yeah, the three-legged, three-legged guy or whatever. Yeah.
The midget. We're not allowed to say that anymore. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Anyway, so I thought that was kind of interesting. That was a cool one. Good catch there on the headless chicken.
Yeah.
Like I said, we're just having fun tonight. Tonight's just a fun. We need a fun night instead of all this serious stuff.
I mean, most serious thing is always politics, right? But we also had a headless politician not too long ago, and I'm sure you remember him, Robert. Dan Quayle. Remember him?
Yeah.
some of his quotes. I mean, I've got a couple of famous quotes by him that I really like. Like one of them is, "I stand by every misstatement that I have ever made." Or here's another good one: "If we fail to succeed, we run the serious risk of failure."
You can't get no more failure than that. Hey, you're covered either way.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he was kind of a brainless guy. Yeah.
Well, I think they all are. I mean, our leader right now today, his statement is, "Oh, the what do you call it? The budget will balance itself." No, so I don't know.
Budgets have a way of doing that. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it just balances itself. We don't have to worry about
Bills have a way of paying themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, they do. They have a way of paying themselves.
Yeah.
Bills, if you just ignore them, they'll just go away.
I know. Well, imagine if we, did our own financing the way that the government does. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Be homeless on the street a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Exactly. Anyway, Mary says she didn't hear this story about the headless chicken. So that's so funny. Oh, well, anyway, I want to say hello to everybody. Saturian's son, come to join us. Hang out for the party tonight. Trey, Grandpa, Brian, Jason Thompson. Thank you for being here. I haven't seen you before. And we got Pearl Jones is in the house. And Grandpa Brian and Chloe is listening. She's dropping in to say hello. Let's see, anybody else? Scotty Boy, he says, am I early? Anyway. But anyway, I'm glad to have you all here tonight. And Linda Espinoza, thank you. Sorry, my language today is stricken with something. Anyway, tongue-tied. That's where I am always at. Anyway, here we go. What's our next one? We're going to go to Egypt. We're going to go to Egypt of all places. Who doesn't like Egypt? What do you think we're going to find in Egypt?
Pyramid.
Oh, huh?
Pyramid, remnants of Atlantis, megalithic architecture, pharaohs.
We're going to go for the world's oldest pet cemetery.
Wow. Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ancient Egyptians, of course, they like their pets just about as much as we do. And of course, the oldest,
especially the cats, right? Cats were very sacred animals.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah. But according to what they've been digging up, it says here the unusual location has yielded the remains of 585 animals that were interned between the 1st and 2nd centuries. The dog and cat remains at the site are numerous, making up nearly all of those recovered. Of these, the dog remains range from medium-sized, long-haired dogs to lankier hunting dogs, and even a handful of functionally useless but awe-inspiring miniature dogs. So they had a variety of, you know what? After I read this, it says, basically, they were just like us. We got big dogs, little dogs. We're just all over the place. We don't stick to, one or the other. We're just everywhere.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
And of course, wouldn't you just love that job? Hey, you get assigned to dig up dead pets.
Yeah.
No mummies, dead pets.
Well, yeah, the Egyptians also worshipped a goddess known as Bastet. And there's even a temple of Bastet in the Nile Delta, over by Alexandria, as a matter of fact. And Hathor also had an incarnation as a cat. Hathor being like the gentler variety of I can't remember the name. I mean, there's so many Egyptian gods and goddesses. Sekhmet. Yeah. Hathor is like the gentler version of Sekhmet, and Bastet is like an aspect of Hathor. even though Hathor was mostly symbolized by a cow. That's why in her human form she appears as a human with cow ears.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Makes you wonder why there's no cats in the pet cemetery. They probably must have buried the cats somewhere else then, not in the pet cemetery.
Yeah, but which makes it difficult to determine if this was like these were like sacred cats or if they were just ordinary pets. But one thing I can tell you from personal experience, that Egyptian cats are totally different than normal cats. They have much bigger and longer ears, and they have like a thinner face. It's difficult to describe, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's like they're totally different than European or American cats.
Yeah,
and they're everywhere. They're everywhere, and they beg for food. And if you're not careful, they steal your food.
Huh.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting.
I wonder if they got buried with their cats. Like if they were, I don't know. Like I've never really thought about it before, but if they brought them in the grave, because I know like the Vikings and like the kings, they quite often they'll get buried with their horses. The wife got thrown in there alive, like you know what I mean, with everything. So I could see them, getting buried with their cats, maybe too.
Yeah, the chiropractor, I get it. But here's the interesting thing: the name of Cairo in Egyptian is Kahira, but it's the same word as the word that they used for Mars, right? Al-Kahira is the Egyptian word for Mars as well. And it's interesting that on Mars you have various formations that do look like pyramids.
Yep.
Including like a famous DNM pyramid, which is a 5-sided pyramid. And then you have like the city on Cydonia, region of Mars. So that's an interesting tie-in.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's amazing. Yeah. Because Egypt is... what is it? I forget the words for it, but it means something.
Chem. They used to call it.
That's it.
And that's where you get chemistry.
Yeah, and it's also a meaning for dirt of Mars or something like that. I don't remember exactly what it was. Something to do with Mars.
Yeah, that's also where you get the name alcohol. Because kohol means coal, actually, in Egyptian. And what they used to do is they used to take like finely ground coal, mix it with alcohol, and put it around their eyes to function as a sort of like sunshade, or it wasn't makeup for aesthetic purposes, but it served the same purpose as like sunglasses to keep from getting like glare struck by the extreme sun.
I see. Huh. Interesting. Let me go on with this for a second, and it talks about how the pet cemetery is more than just a mass grave, is the care that was demonstrated with each burial. Many of the animals were found bearing collars made of metal or beadwork, and some still bore the shrouds, and as you can see right here. They were buried as well as graves such as pottery. Further annals of these animals show that some were afflicted with ailments that would have rendered their wild survival nearly impossible, including lesions, broken bones. Signs of infection indicates that whoever coexisted with these creatures took great time and care to ensure the safety and well-being. And I'm thinking, yeah, so you go back all those thousands of years, they were just like us, like us.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of funny. It's kind of ugly to look at a dead cat or something here, but it is, here you got a cat collar, just, and they buried the, we got pet cemeteries here. So just kind of, hey.
Yeah, there's one in my town, believe it or not. Yeah.
About that. Yeah. Yeah, like I said, people love their pets. Big time love their pets. Let's see, where are we going to go next? Where are we going to go next?
Well, in Japan, they have like a temple of lost data where you could like bury a hard drive. Like if you lost data, you can like bury your hard drive there.
That is very in her. I mean, well, you think about it. In the future, we'll be probably burying the robots. After they have
Yeah.
them robots, we'll be, oh, my poor robot dog. Let's give it a burial.
Yeah, I
I
know.
don't know. I think those things are probably going to outlive us, but
Yeah, he was outdated, and we couldn't get parts for him anymore, so we had to bury him. He was.
aw.
His robot insurance wouldn't cover another
Yeah,
life-saving procedure.
Aw.
his, his battery life was wore out.
Yeah, his
They don't make
warranty
that model
expired.
no more.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't get much funnier than this. Well, you know what? If you get sick and stuff, if you were living back in the day, well, then they would prescribe you some cabbage, of course. Oh, come on. Anyway, cabbage. We're going to talk about cabbage, the greatest thing ever. Okay, medicinal plants are likely the oldest form of medicine ever used. And we've talked about medicinal plants here before, but none of us have ever talked about cabbage. Even some of our other animal cousins thinkably eat certain plants when feeling ill, so you should eat cabbage. A staple of Europe for multiple thousands of years, the cabbage was a favorite, not only to the Romans, but to the Greeks, the Egyptians, and other cultures, whom you read books about as a kid, sowed the seeds that made you buy this one, of course. But the Romans took their cabbage very seriously. Because of them, it was not just a food, but a cure-all. According to Cato, an elder who penned a 2,000-word long thesis on how great cabbages are, the leafy plant could fix headaches, digestive problems, poor eyesight, and even could be topically applied on wounds to heal them.
Oh, yeah.
Cryphasis and Sidious claimed that the Athenian women would eat it after giving birth. Why? Not sure. But that's nothing compared to the ancient Greeks, whose physicians, Euthystrasius, I can't pronounce that, I butchered that name, who claimed that maybe cabbage could fix it, that somehow cabbage could cure someone who is even paralyzed. These claims continued to get more and more ridiculous as time went on, and it could pretty much cure everything. Even in extreme cases, claims once come from different guys who claimed that it could have the ability to cure most, if not every disease. So there you go.
And I would add that one of the most outrageous claims made about cabbage was back in the 70s when they claimed that cabbage juice could make you high. And they would even sell it in like head shops, and it was called copium, which is like cabbage plus opium. And well, I must admit, yes, that I actually did try this, but no, it didn't get you high at all. And it was only recently that I did some research on it, and I found out that it was just a clever marketing ploy by like some cabbage producers association or whatever to increase the sales of cabbage. Right, to get people to believe that they could get high by like extracting the juice from this, and I don't know if it was fermented or dried or cooked, but you were supposed to smoke it and be able to experience something, but it did nothing of the sort. And the same thing happened with bananium or bananidine, which was like a hoax perpetuated about like people getting high off the dried inside of the banana peels, where they would scrape the inside of the banana peels, dry it in the oven, and then smoke it to get high. Well, yeah, I must admit I tried that too. Yes, and no, it did not work. No. Cabbage Patch Kids, yes, of course, back in the 80s. Yeah,
I
remember when them came out.
Each one unique, yeah, and they have that characteristic expression. And as a matter of fact, there is one such person that looks just like a Cabbage Patch person, and that would be Mitch McConnell.
I had a friend that actually looked a lot like a cabbage. Yeah.
Yeah.
She didn't have much of a chin, but yeah, so there you go.
Yeah, back in the day, man, they had Cabbage Patch movie, Cabbage Patch Saturday morning TV programs. Cabbage Patch stuff was everywhere. You
They kind
know.
of took over from the when I was a kid. It was Holly Hobby.
Oh, Holly Hobby.
Remember
Yeah,
that
I
Holly
remember that.
Hobby, right? And then
Never
Yeah.
heard of.
this was the
Raggedy Ann and
Cabbage Patch.
Andy. That's kind of what
Yeah,
Cabbage Patch were. They were kind of
yeah,
like a
kind of like
offshoot
that
of
too. Yes, it's sort of the
Raggedy
same
Ann.
thing. Yeah,
So
kind of an
yeah,
offshoot of that. Yeah.
You could almost say that they were the precursor, the predecessors for Beanie Babies, right? Where each one
Yeah.
of them was unique, right? They
Well,
had
there you go.
their
It's just
own
another
name.
ploy of Hallmark to sell shit, right? So,
Yeah, totally.
hmm
The
Kids buy it up.
the
Yeah.
collectibilization of consumer goods, basically.
Mhm. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The Cabbage Patch Kids were real factory farm children, supposedly. Yeah, there you go. Factory farm
Yes.
by China people, making them in China, shipping them over here, probably.
hmm Yeah.
I think
Jeez.
she's actually talking about some real stuff here, but
Oh,
yeah. But
hmm
that's probably not the show for it. This is not the show for that, maybe.
yeah.
hmm
It's just funny because, I mean, who hasn't eaten cabbage? Make coleslaw. You got red cabbage and green cabbage, and I don't know if there's any more varieties of it, but I eat a lot of cabbage. I mean, cabbage is good.
Yes.
Make coleslaw, boiled cabbage, fried cabbage.
Yeah.
Yummy.
hmm
I grew up in Norway, so we eat a lot of sauerkrauts, both the
Yeah,
red and the green.
sauerkraut. Ooh, yeah.
Except you know what? I prefer the Norwegian one. It's a little bit sweeter. The German one is a little more sour.
Yeah,
I
more
find.
vinegary. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is true. Yeah, I like it vinegary. I live in Germany, but I come from Czech Republic, and in both countries, cabbage is pretty much a staple of the national cuisine of both countries because it's endemic. It
Yeah.
grows here.
I was gonna say our growing seasons are so short there that there's not a lot we can grow, and so
hmm
any root vegetable is good,
hmm
and we can keep it in our root cellars and like a potato, and that's why the potato was so popular.
hmm
But yeah, beets, cabbage, all those things. Those are the type of things that we can grow and then put into jars, preserve it
hmm
for the winter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, because this is easier to preserve. All you got to do is basically chop it up, boil it in salty solution, add some vinegar, and it'll keep over the winter. So that's
Yeah.
why it became a staple of our diets.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, look it up. Go. It's actually not that hard to do, to be honest. It's a little
mhm.
bit of a work. I haven't actually done it myself, to be honest, but I have looked into it. It does look like a lot of work for her. I don't know how much I would eat it, so I didn't go
Mhm.
into it. But yeah, it's fairly easy to do. It's just
Mhm.
Yeah.
more tedious. You got to go in there all the time and keep pressing and all this kind of stuff. But
Mm,
Mhm.
yeah, it's
yeah.
if the
Making
shit
stuff.
hits the fan and we ain't got the grocery store no more, it is doable. It's not that hard. Like
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
one of yeah
Go ahead.
one of our more well-known dishes in Czech Republic is pork chops with dumplings and cabbage.
yeah. Oh, I love my grandma's cabbage rolls.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, which is basically fried cabbage. But we didn't use rice in ours in Norway. It was just meat, and
hmm
I think it's just meat. Yeah, and then in the cabbage, and then we'd have a little fried cabbage on the side. Oh man, that is so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's-
Oh, you're making me hungry.
I know. I want some. I know.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. We're gonna move on. We're gonna move on to our next topic. This is one's gonna. We're all gonna have some conversation on this, I'm sure, because it is quite the thing, and we've talked about this kind of stuff before. And what do you recognize there? A library.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And well, man is a creator and man is a destroyer. We lose our history and all of that stuff. So in at least three occasions, vast libraries of knowledge. And see, well, I didn't know this myself. I thought, we talk about the Library of Alexandria. and that one was destroyed. We always go back, oh, if we only had that library, we'd have all this knowledge, right? Well, that
Yeah.
wasn't the only library that was destroyed. There was Mosaic libraries were plundered during the Reformation, and many pages of old, I don't even know what this is, vellum books and manuscripts used to stuff broken windows, light fires, or wrap packages. As late as 1870, they disappeared. One of the best chances to learn details of the somewhat misty days of the first printings of movable types. When the Germans shelled Strasbourg, the library was destroyed, and the records were certain lawsuits between Johann Gutenberg and his partners, which might have clarified some of what is now rather hazy record of the invention of the printing. Okay, wars have also destroyed in the field during wars. Repeated destruction of great libraries of the Corinth and Alexandria are examples from ancient history, but we need to go back no farther than our own times to see that war took obliterating records. During World War II, some 59 British libraries were totally destroyed, and many more than that were badly damaged. The British Museum alone lost 250,000 volumes. The same institution had suburban warehouse stuffed with newspaper files from the 18th, 19th centuries, many of them unique. It was bombed out in 1940, and 30,000 bound volumes of newspapers were lost forever. Fire, even without the aid of war, takes a continual toll on our own Library of Congress. Burned out the first time in 1814 when British soldiers took Washington, and it has been burned twice since that time. Who knew that? And once in 1825 and again in 1851, the latter obliterating much of Thomas Jefferson's personal library, on which the national collection had been refounded after the War of 1812. So war and fire and neglect wiped out a lot of our history, a lot of our old books. And it sounds pretty bad, doesn't it?
Yeah, what a shame. I mean, it's also a shame that the people didn't anticipate this and didn't make copies in advance of some of these rare documents that they had, knowing the fact that paper is so easily burnt, degraded, mildewed, weathered. It's not a very good material to store information on.
Actually, it's the last place they would store it on.
Yeah.
For that reason alone. I read that somewhere. That paper. I was like, oh, that was the last place to put it. So I wonder if we might uncover still some of it on stone. I wonder, and tablets and whatnot.
Well, in the Qumran caves, they discovered a couple of books that were written on copper plates.
Okay.
Where it was stamped out in copper. So that's a bit more permanent than that.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Nowadays, I don't think it's going to ever happen again, because nowadays we have everything in digital form. Once it's in digital form, it's very easy to make multiple copies of it, multiple redundancies. So I don't think we'll ever lose the knowledge that we've accumulated up until this point.
No.
Yeah, but I beg to differ, because here's the thing. We write it down, you put it in a book, and these books go all over the place. So you got, hundreds of libraries all over the place with these books with hard copies. Now, with this digital age that we're in, you say, okay, great, it could be everywhere, but one EMP could wipe out all the mechanisms they can use to read that information off those disk drives and, forms of,
No, I don't think so. Well, first of all, it's never been done. And even in theory, an EMP strike could only affect digital media in like 100 or 200 kilometer radius. It's not going to wipe out the world's digital repositories. No way.
Well, I hope it wouldn't. I'm saying that if society would crumble, the devices that we use, like I'm using this computer,
Electricity.
right? Yeah, and electricity. Okay, but you could, we're smart enough. We could generate. I could make a battery. I could harness the wind. I could figure out a way. I'm smart enough to figure out how to make electricity, right?
Hmm.
I'm sure you could too, in
Yeah.
some way, shape, or form. But the device that I'm using, like this computer, for instance, if we stop producing things, this computer, if it ever breaks, this is my form of information to get all that other stuff out of. It's the
Hmm.
in between part. But once it breaks and I can't go to the store and buy another one, all those hard drives and all those zip drives and everything I got is worthless.
Hmm. Yeah. 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 Granted, but like I said, I don't think it's ever going to get to that point.
Yeah.
Because of redundancy, because the computer that's sitting on your desk right now is the same as like millions of other computers worldwide. So it's not that difficult to reproduce, and it's not that difficult to get a hold of, even if in case of like a large scale war that affected say 75% of the planet. That still means that 25% of the planet survives, and because information is stored redundantly and therefore holographically, it's never going to get to the point where all the knowledge what we've accumulated is lost. No, I don't think that's ever going to happen.
I
Well,
I
I
hope.
like to think. I like to think that they have at least one, that's underground, that's protected, that's kept there. That we don't
Hmm.
have everything above ground, because I mean, yeah, there's all kinds of things that could be happening, right?
Well,
And so
besides,
keeping multiple copies, different places, plus also underground, where so that it doesn't matter what we're doing above ground, it's going to be safe under there.
sure,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I do have a zip drive that I keep in a separate steel box.
Faraday. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
which
I'm
is
ho-
my
I'm
backup.
right.
Nice.
I'm pretty sure that the government's already got stuff in Faraday, underground and everything.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
would certainly hope so. Yeah, there you go. Now.
Yeah.
But
Well, look,
going back to what you were saying though, it is important to have hard copies still though, like to have the books, and that's why I've been buying books. Haven't
Hmm.
necessarily read them all, but I just have a need to have them, because the feeling is that one day I'm gonna, have nothing else to do than to start reading books again. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
so it's a good thing to
I have
have.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
have a lot of physical books myself. I have thousands and thousands of them, as a matter of fact.
yeah.
Because not only did I at one point have a used bookstore, um,
Oh,
so yeah, that's why my entire basement is taken up with crates and crates of books.
oh wow.
Yeah.
wow.
Hmm.
Yeah.
You
And
should
there's
start your
nothing
own little
wrong with.
library.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
No, you might be the
There's
library one day then.
Yeah, I
You
might
know?
be the library. Yeah. All I got to do is I only have part of it indexed. That's the problem. And
So
without a
that's
good index, i.e., a card catalog of some kind,
yeah.
if nobody knows that you have it, it's like you didn't have it.
You should do that.
Mhm.
Have it in like hard copy, like the old freaking way of doing it. With the
Yeah,
cards
I've
inside,
done that. I've actually done that for the part
Yeah.
that I have indexed. Yeah, where I have like
Maybe
author,
your
title.
mission is to get everything indexed and ready to go. So if the shit hits the fan,
Yeah,
next thing you know, you are the library in your local region. Then,
yeah. Hmm.
there you go. Yeah,
Mhm.
we should all have our own little, especially on stuff that say there's a channel that we really like and resonate with all the work. Why not get the book then, and have it on your show? You don't have to read it if you're following all the videos and whatever, but having the person's book there so that if it all does crash, that's the only reference you
Hmm.
have to any of that.
Yeah,
Like so
sure.
their message is there for you to
Hmm.
pass on. Like I think it's important.
And the
I
other
got
lesson.
Alex Jones' last book, but I haven't read it. It's sitting there. It's
The
Cool.
huge.
great his book, That Great
Oh,
Reset.
huge. I'm like, I'm not reading that. I'm putting it away. But one day I probably will. I probably should. But
Hmm.
That's
same
The
right.
time.
the other.
David Icke, too, is another one. Holy fuck! Have you seen the size of the book? Oh my god! It's
I
like
have a couple of his books. Yeah,
it's
but
good to have.
the other lesson that we should take away from this, especially the Alexandria library burning, is that's the major pitfall of centralization. That's why you don't want centralization. That's why, like, for example, Stalingrad was so tragic for the Russians, because they had centralized, like, their storage of grains and other foodstuffs, so that when the Nazis burned it down, you know, they had nothing to eat.
Yeah.
Dangers of centralization.
Underground seems to be the place to go. There's, I don't know if you guys watched CJB's last video. They're talking about the underground thing, but yeah, that's huge.
Yeah,
CJB, who's that?
Christopher John Bjorkness.
Never heard of him.
Okay, you got to go and check out his material.
Yeah, we'll send you a link.
Yeah. Send me a link.
Nina had him on his show before, or her show before. They're really good. I've been listening to his videos. He really knows his stuff. I tell you that. You know, he's really very meticulous about what he's talking about. So it's well informed. Yeah. So, but anyway, our next thing, we're going to be going back to the Stone Age. We're going to go to the Stone Age for a while. And we're going to talk about the Neanderthals and the oldest known musical instrument. 60,000-year-old piece of history, which you too can buy on Etsy.
Yeah.
Of all things. I just thought it was hilarious. Now this is
what is it? What is the first?
It's a flute. They found a bone that was made into a flute. And it's the ability to play music is one of the most impressive things, you know. And of course, back in the day when you're bored and you're sitting around that campfire and you're a Neanderthal thinking of how hungry you are because you didn't kill a mammoth today, you take one of your old bones and you drill some holes in it, and you make a flute. And then you sit around the fire playing, you know, and slapping your knee. Okay, let's go.
Playing with my bone next to a fire, yeah.
I almost would have thought that the drum would have been the first instrument.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
I'm a drummer, a natural drummer, but don't you want a drum? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, well, a drum would be animal skins stretched across some
exactly.
But then, of course,
just getting the rhythm going, like, I don't know, just.
Yeah, but if it's 60,000 years old, that animal skin probably rotted away by that point. You know, that's probably why they didn't find it.
Probably.
And of course, you got to listen to the scientists because they know everything. It's fact. Once they say it, you know, you can't go back from there. Everything they say is true, and we will never argue with them even though.
Yes.
Yeah, they are the experts. So currently the oldest known musical instrument in the world is a small piece of a cave bear bone, not just a regular bear, but a cave bear. I don't know how they can tell the difference, but they can. It's held in the National Museum of Slovenia. That's around your area there. Despite taking damage over the last 60,000 years, the object is mistakenly an ancient flute bearing 2 currently preserved holes, as well as 2 that have widened due to large breakages in the instrument surface. This device was created by none other than our ancient relatives, the Neanderthals. Like, they put their stamp on there, carved their name. Yep, Neanderthals.
Signed the Neanderthals. There you go. It's it.
I thought it was hilarious. Like, you knew it had to be the Neanderthals. They couldn't have stolen it from some other people or something. They just said, "Hey, look, he got good."
I hope it doesn't say "Made in China" on it.
Was his name? Was his name by any chance Iga? Right?
Yeah,
like that old 1950s movie. But yeah. The fact that it's in Slovenia actually isn't in my neck of the woods. Slovenia is in the former Yugoslavia. Slovakia used to be part of Czechoslovakia, which is where I was born. But, you know, the fact that the names are so similar leads to a lot of confusion. And as a matter of fact, once a month, the foreign ministers of both countries meet to exchange emails that were intended for the other side and stuff like that, and to discuss various matters. But the fact that they have the same flag doesn't help much. The fact that the national language, Slovenština, is said the same way in Slovenian as it is in Slovakian, right? It's crazy. I mean, why don't they name it something else?
Yeah.
They really should name it something else.
That is so funny. But yeah. Well, anyway, you too can own a bone that's made out of a cave bear bone recreated with a 3D printer, and you too can buy it on Etsy. No advertisement needed here. But of course, then you can sit around your own campfire like the Neanderthals did and stomp to a beat playing your flute.
Yeah. Playing your flute.
You gotta love this. Oh boy. That brings us to our next one as soon as I can find because that leads us right into the next one here, and I gotta find the page mark. So no, that ain't the one. As soon as I bookmarked all these pages, and now I got too many bookmarks. Nope, that ain't it. I can't remember which page I found it in. No, that is not the one. Maybe it's in this one. I got so many of them that I wanted to talk about tonight, but there is certain ones that we are going to talk about regardless, and that is, I searched so hard for it, and now I can't find it. No, that ain't it. Oh, well, then we'll go to the next one here.
There's a question there for about the Slovakian.
Oh, yeah. Past tense for
Slovakian past tense of Slovenian. Slovakian past tense.
I find it in here.
No, because that's an adjective, and adjectives don't have past tense. Even though, in the Slavic languages, everything gets tensed. It gets cased, gendered, tensed, and something else. In other words, you can tell a lot from a single word because the shape of that word and the suffix and the prefix determines. It gives it much more meaning. In other words, that's also why in Slavic languages the order of words in a sentence doesn't matter. See, you learn something new every day.
That's what we're here to do. We're learning something new today. That's the whole point of this, is to find something new. And that brings us to the next bit. And I bet you didn't know this one. Have you ever met these two guys? Do you know who they are? Well, he's
one of them Hitler?
No, he's not. These are Englishmen, believe it or not. Because, we all have learned that Charles Lindbergh was the first man to fly across the Atlantic Ocean in 1927. Isn't that true? Well, maybe not so much. It says here, his achievements were magnified, of course, by the press, and that he was already rich and famous. Of course, he might as well have been 100 years ago, the Elon Musk of his day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
In the rapid development of flight during World War I produced planes capable of flying across the Atlantic. Believe it or not. It was inevitable that someone among the first to try thereafter would succeed. On May 16, 1919, 3 U.S. naval planes left Tresby, Newfoundland. One of them, an NC-4, reached the Azores on May 17th and Lisbon on May the 27th, and Plymouth, England. And on May 31st, that was the first Atlantic crossing by aircraft, but it was not a direct crossing. But on June 14th through the 15th, John Alcock, that's this guy, and A.W. Brown flew in a one hop in a converted British bomber from Newfoundland to a landing in Ireland and the first nonstop crossing. A British dirigible, the R-34, crossed from Scotland to Minota Field, New York, July 2nd through the 6th, and then made the return journey July 10th through 13th. It was actually 8 years later that Lindbergh made his famous flight, and he took off from Roosevelt Field, Long Island, in the early morning of May 20th, 1927, all alone in a small single-engine Ryan monoplane, the Spirit of St. Louis. That's the one we always know. It took him 33 and a half hours later, and he landed in Le Bourget Aerodrome in France. Aerodrome? Yeah, in Paris.
Aerodrome.
Aerodrome, yeah. Mm-hmm. What made the Lindbergh flight immortal was the fact that one young man did it all alone, winning the $25,000 Orteig Prize for the first nonstop flight between New York and Paris. There was enough glory for any one man in a fine achievement without gliding it in accurate. It was a first for him. Anyway, but these guys did it in a big-ass plane with 2 big giant engines. It was huge. So this is what they flew in across the Atlantic. So, it wasn't the first time somebody did it. It was just the first time somebody did it in a really small plane.
Mm-hmm. It looks like a box.
Yeah.
Like a flying box.
It does.
Big. I don't think I'd get in that thing. Forget it. No.
I'll definitely wait and watch for a few times myself before I would actually know.
They made it on the postage stamps, back in 1919. What the heck, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. And then final goal: ambitious aviators reach first nonstop flight across the Atlantic Ocean is accomplished by 2 British officers. And you know why? Because they weren't famous enough.
Well, I guess it's also the fact that it's American exceptionalism, that anything that Americans did was always much better publicized, because that's the thing. America was always number one in media, things like Hollywood, filmmaking, special effects, cinematography. Mm-hmm. They always excelled at that. So when you think about it, what better way to do propaganda than by mass media? And they quickly understood this right from the start. So that's why, in the public consciousness, the first guy who flew across the Atlantic was Lindbergh and not these 2 guys. Because honestly, not even I've never heard of these guys.
Huh.
And I never imagined that as far back as 1919 that somebody actually crossed the Atlantic. And when you actually look at the pictures, that's truly a momentous accomplishment.
It is. For 1919. When did the Wright brothers just start flying? Just not. What, 1903 or something like that, or
1904 or something like that. I know. I used to have this old book that was from that time period, and it was basically a book called the Airplane Construction and Operation. And it was basically a manual on how to build and fly your own plane. And it was apparently that was like an acceptable thing to do back then.
Wow, that's just crazy. Build and fly your own plane. Well, but things were new back then. It was very new. And why not?
And for me, it would be like, the fuel tank, because that's really what determines how long you could be in the air for, how far you can go.
Sure.
So, don't we have issues with that even today, crossing?
I guess so. You can make the fuel tank.
Yeah. So how is it that they were able to then? I don't think we do that now, do we?
Yeah, I don't know. They get big jets and they fly across, but
because we can keep stopping to get fuel. That's why we never go non-stop anywhere. We always got to stop somewhere to get fuel and then continue over here. Makes you wonder. Makes you also wonder with that whole flat Earth thing. You know, is that a whole psyop with the way that we're with the flight, so that because wouldn't the pilots know whether we are or not? I mean, they should be the ones to know for sure.
Yeah. And
So by only going short distances and having to stop to fuel all the time, that would make it so they wouldn't know, wouldn't it? It would
Well, a couple of pilots have come forward and said that, they've been lying to you this whole time. The Earth is really flat, because at no time do they have to compensate for the fact that they're going around a curve. You know, they're just going straight.
Okay, well, that's what I was wondering. Yeah, like they would know. They would know. I mean.
Yeah, especially like when you think about it, like the Earth in space, right? It's a ball. You're flying from one point on that ball to another point. You know, if you have a gyroscope on board, that gyroscope should be spinning in based on the movement of that plane with respect to absolute 3D space. And you don't get that when you take off. Yes, the gyroscope goes like this because you're taking off. Then when you level off, the gyroscope is level. And when you go down, makes the opposite move. At no point is there like a net movement going up or down, which means it's not going around a curve.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, there's definitely something.
I know. I mean, it does. I know. It's hard to imagine it, but you're right. Yeah.
So.
And I would look up the video 200 Proofs of a Flat Earth by Eric Dubay, where he's got it all outlined in a rather lengthy documentary outlining all the proofs that you need to make your own decision. And I'd say that a lot of very smart people, including Ken, Theory Apophasis, YouTube channel, he's a flat earther. So are a lot of people I consider to be highly intelligent.
Yeah, I know. I've seen some stuff recently too, and they also brought to my attention that the whole moon landing. You know, this is why they did the whole fake moon landing thing, was to really imprint on us that, you know, it's a ball, you know, and that we're in space and all this, right?
And once you start questioning the moon landing, it's only a hop, skip, and a jump to start questioning the shape of the Earth. But they always point out the fact that, that's because ships always disappear from the bottom up and reappear from the bottom up. Well, here's the thing: if you take like a flat hallway and you put your camera right down on the floor and you film a ball going away from you, it's because of perspective that the ball will actually disappear from the bottom up as it goes further and further away. It's perspective. There's nothing more to it than that.
Yep.
Scratch has a question for you there. I don't consider myself a flat earther, so I'm not going to answer that. I have no idea. I'm still searching myself, and I don't know if you want to.
Rotate fully and clockwise over. Yeah, that's a good question. See, there's ones on both sides of the thing. How does the moon go around if the Earth is flat?
Yeah, well, they say that there's evidence, and I've seen some of the evidence myself, that the moon is actually not real, that it's actually just a hologram, because on some occasions you've been able to see things like planes behind the moon or stars appearing behind the moon, and like some of these like lab coat scientists will tell you, that's because of refraction, because you're actually not seeing the moon in the proper position, because the Earth's atmosphere is distorting the angle of vision. You're actually seeing the moon in a different place than it really is. Bullshit. The moon's not that far away, and the atmosphere doesn't distort light to that extent. No. Especially not when you're looking mostly directly up, right, or at a 45-degree angle. You know, you're not going through that much atmosphere. And speaking of atmosphere, it doesn't make any sense why you would have like the supposed vacuum of space right next to atmosphere at a pressure of 14.7 pounds per square inch, which is a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot more than you imagine, because if you have double that, that's what, 28 psi. That's the same pressure in your tire, and if one of those explodes right next to your ear, that's it. You're deaf. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that's a huge explosion,
Huge
and
explosion.
that's only one atmosphere.
Yep. Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah.
So do you
I totally
believe in
agree.
the dome thing as well then? That we're inside a dome, the whole firmament.
Most likely, yeah, most likely it's some kind of a holographic projection. Because if you take the most powerful telescope and you aim it at any star, you can't resolve anything. There, you really can't. You can't discern if it has like a round shape or a square shape or any shape at all. So most likely these are just holographic projections.
Well, you know the saying, as above, so below, you know, the whole maybe
Yeah.
there's water above as well as water below. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's very interesting, eh?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I'm seriously doubting the globe model, and I'm more inclined to believe that we live on a flat plane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's completely flat, but then yeah, then you got to question everything else, and then it's like, well, you know, maybe it is just a hologram. It's the whole thing is just a,
Yeah,
uh,
because
you know,
also when I was talking to Mandy in Australia, she lives in Brisbane, Australia, and she remarked that she was looking at the moon, and I was like, oh my God! I was just in the kitchen and I saw the moon outside my window. I'm like, we're on opposite sides of the globe. How the hell can we see the same moon in the sky, right? And
yeah,
also, like when I did the Google Maps distance, it's actually closer from her house to the North Pole than it is from her house to my house here in Germany, which makes no
Really?
sense whatsoever. Yeah,
It
like
does.
like
Huh.
where do you get that? Also, speaking of anomalous distances, there's a good book out called something like 50 airplane landings, where they detail anomalous airplane landings that happened due to like an in-flight emergency, where let's say you had a flight from San Francisco to South Korea, and they had to make an emergency landing, and they landed in Alaska, right? Where only the flat Earth model would explain why Alaska would be on the way from San Francisco to Korea, right?
Huh. Yeah, that makes no sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
No. No, you'd think there'd be someplace else before that. It seems like a detour.
Yeah, yeah, big detour.
Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think Off the Hook says Earth is a lot bigger than we realize. Either
yeah.
that or
Hmm.
it's a lot smaller than we realize, too. It could be either
Well,
way.
if anything, I would say bigger, if anything,
Yeah.
because
Yeah, I
the
gonna say too. Yeah, have you seen that map where there were the inner world and then you have all this stuff on the outside?
hmm yeah,
So going be yeah, I think it's more like that.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
And I
could
think
be.
that the Anunnaki or whatever they are, I think they're still here. I think they were over
Mhm.
there, and this is where we're
Could be.
being trafficked to. You know, like you wonder, you never find any bodies, right? Of all these hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people missing every year. Well, where are
Yeah.
they going?
Hmm.
Well, they're going somewhere else. It's because they're not here. They're being transferred over there now.
Yeah.
You
And
know, so
Yeah.
you
that kind
can't
of
miss all those people every year and nobody ever finds them.
no. Well, that's
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
thing. They're going somewhere else. Yeah.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
there, so then again, yeah, so there is no, you know, aliens coming down here or us
No.
being trafficked to some other planet. There's none of that. It's just over there and it says, even in the Anunnaki story that we were doing there, they go to the past the waters or something like that. I think it's past like Antarctica type of thing. You know, there's a yeah, past there. They mention that a lot. They go there, you know, and so I think that's what they're referring to there.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't explored our own planet, really.
I know,
There's
I know.
places
Well, we're
on
not
dry
allowed.
land that
Yeah, we're
that
not
you
allowed.
can't go to because
I
they're so
know.
inaccessible. And it's not just Antarctica where you're not allowed to go. It's places that you can't get to because there's no roads leading there. There's no airstrip where you can land the plane. Nothing.
Hmm. Hmm.
And
Yeah,
helicopters have limited range.
yeah.
Yes.
Never mind under the ocean. That's another thing. I
Yeah,
do
that's
believe
another
there's
thing.
things going on under there too. So yeah.
Yeah, that brings us to our next story, and
Just a
you're
little
gonna
bit
like
off topic, just a little bit.
a little bit off topic, but it brings us to our next story about how we're being lied to,
Oh,
and what is that? Counterfeits, art scams. The Met has 40% fakes, and that is true. In my one book that I read here, it's the 100 most interesting things you've ever seen heard of, and it says the next time you're marveling at paintings by Picasso, statues of Michelangelo, carvings from ancient Egypt, don't be absolutely sure they're real. Most museums and galleries and private collections around the world are stocked with phonies. Yes, a former director of the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City, Thomas Hooving, has wrote a book called False Impressions, saying that, hey, these things are kind of faked. And then it says here, Camille Korat painted 3,000 paintings, 5,000 of them which are in the United States. Go figure. And it talks of this is the thing about the paintings and the things. They're all they pay billions and trillions, well, thousands of dollars, whatever, for this stuff, and they find out by they're fakes. They really look right, but they're fakes. He examined 50,000 works in the field. Fully 40% were either phonies or so hypocritically restored, so to misattribute that they were just the same as the forgeries. Since I'm sure, he says, that percentage has risen with what few art professionals seem to want to admit to is all the art in the world we are living in today is highly much faked.
But then again, that leads to the question, does it matter? Does it matter in terms of like your enjoyment of it as a consumer of art?
Well, it does. A lot of people invest money. Like some of these things are like millions of dollars, and yeah, they want the real deal. That would be like a woman paying $1,000 for a handbag. We want to know that that's the real handbag and not just some knockoff. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Yeah, but a lot of these prices that they fetch, these works of art, first of all, a lot of it is just a cover for money laundering, in my opinion. A lot of those prices are way out of line. Like, I'll never forget, and I even saw this quote work of art myself in the Metropolitan Museum, and it was like 12 bricks, normal bricks next to each other, and allegedly the Met paid $12,000 for this thing. This was way back when, and I'm like, what, $1,000 for an ordinary brick? Get out of here! That makes no sense whatsoever. But
that's the way they do it. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
It's nonsense.
It doesn't surprise me at all that there's tons of knockoffs. I would assume that every painting has tons of knockoffs. I mean,
yeah, sure. But that's like skill. It takes just as much skill to make a counterfeit painting using traditional methods like oil on canvas as it did the original. So it's not that big of a deal. Yes, it is a big deal because it is a fake and the investor wants his value for money and all that stuff. But it is most art is actually just money laundering, just like Saturnian Sun says. But it goes a lot deeper than that. And that 40% figure is very interesting because look up the super dollar. The super dollar is a counterfeit $100 bill that's so good that even scientists from the Fed can't distinguish it from the real thing. Wow. And 40% of all $100 bills in circulation in the United States come from China, actually, but they're distributed by Chinese and North Korean nationals through outlets such as casinos and other cash businesses.
Wow.
So 40% of all the outstanding cash is fake. In the United States, at least.
Wow.
Yeah, again, doesn't surprise me.
It doesn't really doesn't.
And you can actually buy fake euro notes on AliExpress. They sell them in the category of home decorations, believe it or not, where they're one-sided fakes, right? They're not two-sided, but still, it's only I guess it's only a question of asking the right people and getting two-sided fakes that are just as realistic as the real thing.
And you know what? This is actually going to be part of the downfall of how they can justify the whole new digital thing that's coming in, right? It's easy to fake now.
It's going to be more easy to fake, actually, to fake a digital dollar. The way they could have prevented any of this from happening is by equipping every banknote with its own UPC code, so that it could be scanned, so that you could have like a chain of custody for not only goods, but also the banknotes themselves, and therefore be able to figure out if like a banknote is fake based on like a duplicate serial number. Or if it's been stolen, it would go like in a database of stolen banknotes, and that would raise a red flag and be able to catch people like that. But the fact that banknotes don't have barcodes is proof of the fact that they don't care about the counterfeiting.
That is true. I agree with that one.
They're probably doing it themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're doing it themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Or their friends. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to move on to our unfake art here, unless it is fake, which I doubt it's fake. And this is, of course, cave art.
Mm-hmm.
What do we know about cave art? And cave art is the cave paintings of the Pleistocene beast are some of the most well-known examples of Paleolithic art in the entire world. While cave paintings can be found all over the world. In Europe, have attracted significant spotlights like, what is it, La Crosse, I think, cave?
No, there's Lascaux.
Lascaux, okay. I'm glad you know how to pronounce it. Lascaux Cave. Have you ever been there?
No.
Okay.
No.
Both in and Chavault Cave, both in France. Captive visitors they captivate visitors around the world. And these wild beasts that roam the earth, according to scientists, some 30,000 years ago. You've got to listen to the scientists because they know. And archaeologists have always been stunned by the creations, and recent analysts have found that they may have been far more advanced than we thought. Okay, in recent studies, paintings from France to Spain suggest that these cave paintings, because you look at them now, you got to look at this art, and you're thinking, oh well, okay. And I've analyzed this a little bit, and it's kind of wonky, right? Okay, but they found out that these cave paintings, when illuminated with firelight, the flickering light casts ever-shifting shadows on the walls, and that in some cases it makes it appear as though the animals are moving. It suggests that the ancient people deliberately painted their animal characters on uneven surfaces so that the flames of their hearths, their fire, would essentially bring the animals to life. This, in effect, is the very oldest example we have of having a cinema or a movie theater. Go figure.
Mm-hmm.
New understanding from research has unlocked deep understanding of the depictions of the eight-legged bison in the Chavault Cave. Before the firelight discovery, there was no real explanation for the beast's mutation. But the addition of the flickering flame, the creatures come to life as it seems to be galloping across the wall. So there you go. So
yeah, well, actually, the Lascaux paintings are up to 40,000 years old. And that's not the most incredible thing about the cave paintings. That a lot of these were like located up to 6 miles deep inside a mountain. Like, can you imagine this? Like, not having flashlights, no modern equipment of any kind, and just like a torch of some kind, and like wandering 6 miles deep into a cave. How insane is that? Or did they have some kind of technology that would enable them to traverse such huge distances safely?
It's crazy. That's the biggest question. And look at Now you got to look here. This is what fascinates me. They painted these on the ceiling, and look at, here's the guy, and this is the art. I thought these were little pictures, but they're humongous pictures on the ceiling, no less. Not on the floor or the ground, but on the ceiling.
Which means they must have brought in like scaffolding and set up scaffolding and done it that way, because there's no other way you can do that.
Yeah. I mean,
unless there were giants down there.
Yeah, unless you were a giant, exactly.
But if you were a giant, how would you fit through the narrow holes to get in there?
That's probably true too. Because look at the size of, here's the hole you're going to come through, but these are gigantic
How big is that
animals.
hole, though? How big is that hole? Does it say the diameter
Well,
there?
if we go back to this one, I mean, look at, here's a hole, and he's, kind of there, and here's the animal. So, that hole is a good 10 feet tall, I would say. And
So
that one, I don't know what this
is. Through there. 10 feet.
Yeah. I guess you could. Yeah.
But look at the size of these critters. I'm thinking, dude, you had to be standing far back to see these things. You had to be tall to get. I mean, you think like a person like you or me, we're gonna paint a picture. We're gonna paint it, our size, not ginormous size.
Yeah. We're gonna paint it at eye level, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it just makes sense. Here's a buffalo, and they painted pretty good though too, considering this is done, 40,000 years ago. That's pretty good drawing. I mean, I've seen pictures like the Native Americans make. They're more like stick people. The people in Australia, what are they called? The Aborigines. You've seen their pictures? Stick people. This is not stick people. This is 3D, with depth drawing, like to make this leg back here and the hoof and paint in the dark areas, and that is that takes a little talent. I don't even know how to do that good. I mean, if you really look at the shadows on the ears, look at the shadows on the ears there, and the horns and the eye sockets, and this is better than some of the art that they painted when the Americans were going out west, and they painted the buffalo, and the buffalo looked not like a buffalo, but this looks more like a buffalo.
Yeah, I agree. This is definitely high level art and drawn from memory.
Yes.
Right? Because I doubt that they actually got in any real buffalo, to serve as a model. But yeah, I totally agree. If you look at the other cave paintings in North America and Australia, you can't compare the two.
Yeah. No. I mean, like, these guys were like way better advanced. And what the question is what happened then? I mean, look at, they can put their handprints, and the idea of this, I mean, we did this when we were in like kindergarten and stuff. You make your hand and paint it up there and kind of, spray paint around it or something. And, what were these guys thinking?
Yeah.
And then of course you got this Aborigine, put this up there, an Aborigine stick art kind of thing. And you're looking at this and going, okay, this is kind of simple compared to what that is. Not quite the same thing, And then you have these abstract ones where
those are called Bradshaws. That's a style of Australian Aboriginal art. There's generally two different types. There's like Bradshaws, like this, that are like abstract expressionism, and then there's that previous one that you showed that would be a Wangina or Wangina.
Oh.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting, but still different kind of painting. Maybe there's some madness to this too, but it is interesting. All cave art. But then you go back to here and you're looking at the horse, and it's kind of like a horse. I mean, I could see a person, because they put in the detail, like that extra leg and the hind and the hock and the tail and the short hair and the the big. It's hard to make a horse. You ever tried drawing a horse? It's a little bit difficult. And look how high these are up. This is what gets me. Look at, they got scaffolding in there to get up there.
Yeah.
So those guys had to put scaffolding in there too. I mean,
And how did they illuminate it? And where's the traces of soot? Because if they would have illuminated it using fire, you would expect that entire roof would be covered with soot.
yes, exactly. Especially
Where's the soot?
And if you're 6 miles down or whatever you're saying, even if you're a mile down, where's the air? You're going to take that you're going to burn up all your air, and then what? You're going to suffocate. Yeah, another painter died. Let's haul him out. Get another one.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And then you're drawing it upside. Look at this lady. If she didn't have that scaffolding, she's literally drawing it upside down. She's up there cleaning it. It's upside down. You're up like this doing it. I mean, come on, And then it's pretty good for drawing it upside and big. I mean, big. Not just little stuff,
Yeah, it's inconceivable. Like, not only how they did it, but why. Why go? I get the fact that it's a protected area that's likely to survive many millennia into the future. But what was so important about those particular depictions that made them want to go that deep into a cave and put that much effort into making a realistic depiction of it?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, why?
This is a horse head. It looks like, I don't have to guess what it is. It looks like a horse head. It's got the muzzle, the nose. For being drawn on a cave wall, because cave walls aren't flat. It's got the eye, the ear. Here's the hair. The muzzle nose looks more like a Roman nose of a horse. And he's extra hanging down below his cheek down here. You can really pick this out. It's not fancy painting, but it's probably a big piece, so it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, agreed.
More stuff. I thought these were pretty cool. Horses. These were good. These are good drawings right here. Good drawings.
Yeah. And you see that rhinoceros, that shows you that must have been back when they had rhinoceroses in Europe.
Yeah,
because that's not from Lascaux, but that's from a different cave in France. I forget what the name of it is.
I had it here a second ago. Sylvalter. I lost that page. You have the page, and then it was the Chavet cave or
Chavet, yeah. So that's a rhinoceros right there. So what is that doing there?
Yeah, exactly. So obviously all those critters were in that
we're running around Europe.
Yep. And then who killed them all off? Who was killing them off? That's a good question.
Well, actually the rhinoceros is the most dangerous sub-Saharan African animal there is. Causes the most amount of deaths.
Yes, they're dangerous.
Much more dangerous than a lion. A lion is more likely to just back off.
Let's see here. We're going to go on to our next one. Oh, yeah, this is going to be an interesting one. And I know you've talked about this one before, because we're at the end. We're back at the cabbages. So, okay, this one is really interesting here. We're going to get with this one. And you kind of have these laws in Germany, believe it or not. I know you do. I got this one up here. I don't have a whole lot of pictures on this
Germany,
one.
You come for the pain, but stay for the torture.
Oh yeah. So we're going to talk about the blue laws.
Oh yeah. Believe it or not, it is a thing, and it sucks. You basically have all of Germany closes down at 8 p.m. And nothing is open on Sunday. Nothing's open after 8 p.m. except gas stations and railway stations, and that's basically it.
Oh yeah, I know, and and that's probably where all these laws really came from, because they came across, to the United States with the Puritans, dating back to the Puritans. And if Lucky Stone is still in the room, he's probably got some laws in his neck of the woods in Massachusetts, which is on thing.
They're based on like the religious tradition where like you're not supposed to work on Sunday, where Germany is also one of the few countries that has the Kirchensteuer, which is an additional 9% tax on income that's given to the church. So that if you say that you're a Catholic or a Protestant or whatever, they will tax you 9% extra.
Wow.
And send that over to the church. That's why when I moved here, I declared myself to be an atheist. So I don't get that tax. I don't have to pay any tax.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I would too.
Yeah.
Totally atheist. Exactly. So these laws in the United States developed back in the day with the Puritans coming over. They rose in Connecticut, and the code of such laws promulgated in New Haven, Connecticut. And they were printed and reprinted. They started out, in short, they were based on account of these laws made by Reverend Samuel A. Peters in a book called A General History of Connecticut by a gentleman of Providence. It was published in London in 1781. Blue laws by neighboring colonies, Peters said, never suffered to be printed. They were known mostly by a vocal repetition. Now, where do you think they were repeated at? In the churches, I'm sure. These laws, these blue laws, bloody laws, they said, for they were sanctified with the excommunication, confiscation, fines, banishment, whippings, cutting off the ears, burning the tongue, and death. And when he went on to accuse the Reverend Thomas Hooker of infecting Bibles with smallpox, which is a fatal disease, was then spread by the means among the Indians by giving him infected Bibles with smallpox.
Shit. Oh my God. To add insult to injury, or injury to insult in this case. Oh my God.
Okay, so you want to hear some of these laws back in the day. Listen to these. No one shall cross a river but with an authorized ferryman. No one shall run on the Sabbath day or walk in his garden or elsewhere except reverently to and from a meeting. Go figure. No one shall travel, cook victuals, make beds, sweep the house, cut the hair, or shave on the Sabbath day. No woman shall kiss her child on the Sabbath or fasting day. When it appears that an accused has confederates and he refuses to discover them, he may be racked. And you know what racking is when they put you in the...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No one shall read common prayer, keep Christmas or Saints' Day, make mince pies, dance, play cards, or play on any instrument of music except the drum, trumpet, and Jew's harp. Married persons must live together or be imprisoned. These are fair samples of the New Haven laws as expounded by Reverend Peters. Wow.
Samuel A. Peters, or Sap, they used to call him, I'm sure.
But these are some of the blue laws, and as you can see, there are blue laws in the United States yet today, and the U.S. Supreme Court has held blue laws as a constitutional numerous times, has held it up numerous times, citing secular base such as securing a day of rest for mail carriers, as well as protecting workers and families, in turn contributing to societal stability and guaranteeing free exercise of religion. And of course, it goes on about blue laws. Arizona, for instance, limited alcohol sales hours on Sundays from 2 a.m. to 10 a.m. So you better get up really early to go get your liquor. The other
Mm-hmm.
6 days of the week, alcohol can be purchased starting at 6 a.m. The law was repealed in 2010. Arkansas, that's a Bible thumper state. Arkansas has 75 counties, 39 of which are dry, meaning the sale of alcohol beverages prohibited entirely.
Mm-hmm.
Sales of alcohol beverages on Christmas Day is entirely prohibited. Even private facilities, alcohol and liquor sales are prohibited in most counties on Sunday and statewide on Christmas Day. Wow. In Connecticut, had a ban on selling alcohol on Sundays until the law was repealed by the state legislature in
Oh, these
2012.
are. Yeah, I know that in New Jersey there's a ban on sale of certain non-food items on
Mm,
Sunday
wow.
to this
Connecticut
day.
has also banned hunting on Sundays. Hunters are still able to hunt on private land and other permitted areas. Oh, even in Washington, D.C., it allows private sellers to sell distilled spirits, but district councils require Class A retailers to be closed on Sundays. There you go. Um, Georgia, Sunday retail alcohol sales in stores prohibited by Georgia General Assembly until 2011. So this is where we're
Hmm.
going with this. Everything's been getting repealed in the 2011, 2012, etc. We're going downhill, folks. No more religion stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. If you were to give every religion the same attention that they gave Christianity, with like not allowing certain things on Sunday, you'd be paralyzed, because for Muslims the holy day is Friday, right?
Yeah.
For Jews it's Saturday, right? If you've ever been to a hotel in upstate New York on a Saturday, the elevator stops at every floor, so they don't have to press the button.
Oh, geez. Wow.
Yeah, really.
Go figure. I had some more here, but we should wrap this up. We're getting a little late in the tooth, but I appreciate y'all for coming on. This has been a lot of fun. I mean, there's some more. I had some about pigeons and stuff like that. Because we all love pigeons, don't we? And I guess that was
Mhm.
close to being it. I had one more on pigeons. Oh, I had one more on suicide. Did you know that most suicides are from older people? Believe it or not. Um,
Wow.
yeah, I always thought. Well, we'll do the one on suicide. But yeah, because I always thought, oh man, it's all the young. You hear it on the radio and stuff, and the news and stuff. It sounds like all the people that are killing themselves are young kids. But
Wow.
turns out it's more people 65 and older that are killing themselves.
That's
And of course,
crazy.
I got this one here, and it says high suicide rates in 2021. Of course, that was a bad year.
Hmm. That was a really bad year, yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, and why feel sorry for you if you live in Wyoming, Montana, and Alaska.
And Vermont.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Vermont over here. Yeah, look at these. The purple states are the worst. Oh boy. Yeah, we got nothing to
That's
look forward to here.
surprisingly enough, New Jersey and New York are like the best, right?
Yeah. Wow.
That's
Go figure.
crazy.
And
Yeah.
Illinois, of all places. That's a boring ass state there. Sorry,
Yeah.
people. Sorry if you live in Illinois, but it's kind of look as. You've been through Illinois? There's nothing there but cornfields and people.
But that's strange, because one of my friends, he's been to every single U.S. state, and he said that the most boring state was Nebraska.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah, he said all you see is cornfields, and that's it.
Yeah. I've been through Nebraska. It's kind of rolling hills, but a lot of
Hmm.
cornfields. It's flat. Iowa's kind of the same thing. It's just cornfield after cornfield. But hey, each his own. But yeah.
Here's a unique factoid about Nebraska. Nebraska is the only state legislature that's unicameral, that doesn't have like a Senate and a House of Representatives, that has just one body.
Really? I did
Really?
not know that.
Yeah, every other state has a bicameral legislature.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well,
Mhm.
see, this is what this was all about is, you know, learning little facts that you need to know that you really
That
didn't need you
you
to
that you
know.
never needed to know.
Yeah. Nina, do you got any of those blue laws or anything over there? I didn't get Canadian statistics on suicide over there. I hope you're not living in one of those
Well,
bad areas.
we have our old maids program here in Canada. So,
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
you know,
assisted
mate.
suicide. Yeah,
yeah. We can get that stuff done for free here. Matter of fact, it's encouraged,
Oh, yeah,
So,
yeah.
that's right.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
right. Uh-oh.
And under Trudeau, it's really taken off. It's up to like
Oh, yeah.
30,000 people a year.
We
That's
just had one
ridiculous.
guy that was in the news here who was a quadriplegic and he ended up in the hospital. Well, the nurses and whatnot in the hospital, they don't have time for special needs people. And so he ended up with bed sores so bad that he ended up wanting to do the maids program because he was in so much pain and whatever from the bed sores, from being at the hospital here in Canada with our great medical system, where you don't get, like, if you can't move around and do things for yourself here, you're hooped in the hospital. Like, you won't make it. So,
That's atrocious. I mean, you would think that for such a special needs patients that they would actually provide
no.
him with like a waterbed or something to prevent that from happening.
Or like I was thinking, like, how is he able to do it at home? He must have some kind of care at home. Why wasn't
Yeah,
that person at the hospital helping him there? Like, because
yeah.
I used to work in the field, and to be honest, back in the day when I started, we used to get hospital shifts. Go in, the
hmm
clients end up in hospital so that you can be there to help them and whatever. Well, they did um, take
Downsize.
away, downsize, and that got taken away. And yeah, we had a heck of a time when we had like one of our clients. Like, they don't have time to sit there and spoon feed. You get your tray, there you go. You got to be able to figure that shit out yourself because she's gone. She ain't gonna feed you. And these clients, they need it all whizzed up and specially done, and then you have to sit there and spoon feed them. Like, you can't. Yeah. So there's none of that. And so yeah, clients would just basically just die. If you end up in the hospital, you're a goner.
Oh my
And
God, yeah.
so, yeah,
You wouldn't think that this would be happening in 2024,
yeah,
or
no,
even.
everything has gone downhill. Our medical system here is just horrible now.
hmm
Like
hmm
we used to have a walk-in clinic, so we just walk in and see a doctor in and out, in 15, 20 minutes. Well, now you can't even walk in anymore. You have to line up at 7 o'clock in the morning in hopes to get an appointment that day at some point. Like, I'm like, what? I've never,
That's.
like, oh, yeah, if it wasn't for privatized, like, 'cause we do have naturopathic doctors and whatnot, and I haven't been going to see one. And if it
hmm
wasn't for her being able to call her up, like, she saved me, like, at Christmas time, doctor's not there, there's nobody at the walk-in clinic, you got to go to the freaking emergency room to get a prescription or anything. And you
hmm
might be
hmm
there for 24 hours. Like, like, it's horrible. So yeah, having her like on speed dial and just get her to do it. And yeah, she saved my life, like, literally. Like, but yeah, that's
Yeah.
how it is. We might look like Canada's got free medical or whatever, and all this, but we're not getting the care. Okay. We're
hmm
getting exactly that, you know. It's free. Okay. So yeah, we're
hmm
not getting the care. We're dying, waiting. We're dying in the
hmm
hospital. If you end up in there. It's just,
Yeah, well, we have free medical treatment, but you have to pay for it, right? Which means it's not really free. And for a person who's self-employed like myself, I pay about $100 a month, and I'm insured in Czech Republic, which means that that's got to be the place where I have to go for any primary care. The only
mhm,
way I can get any medical care here in Germany is if it's an emergency, right?
mhm,
Which means that for every little thing, I have to drive 40 kilometers across the border, and that's if they let me. Where during the pandemic, they would close and open the borders on a whim, basically. So you never knew if you could get across the border that day or not. Nowadays it's all open like it was before, but still, it's a clumsy system. When I started out, I was paying about $40 a month, and now I'm paying about $100 a month. But I have like medical and dental covered, and you only pay like 30 crowns per prescription, which is your out-of-pocket expense. And some procedures you have to pay extra for, like if you want white fillings in your teeth instead of the metallic ones, that's quite expensive. But even like a new crown, that'll run you about $200, which still, despite the fact that we consider it expensive, it's cheap compared to the United States.
Oh yeah, I just had a root canal done, and it was like $2,000.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I don't know why it works in Czech Republic and in Eastern Europe in general, and it doesn't work in Canada, because it's basically the same system that we have.
Yeah, that's when you said dental. Yeah, no, we don't have that here. Yeah, for some reason they don't associate your teeth, with the rest of the body. Like why is that? Because I mean, there's a lot of issues that's going on because of dental work. Like if you don't take care of your teeth, there's a lot of issues that are caused from that. People don't realize that.
Big time.
So it's important to take care of your teeth for sure, but it's super freaking expensive. Like that's where all my money's gone, is dental work.
Oh my God. Yeah. Well, that's included in the general insurance. And basically all the insurance plans are by law pretty much the same. So I signed on with the Ministry of Interior because their office was right next to mine when I was working at the stock exchange. So that's the reason.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think we should sign off, and I thank everybody for coming. I don't know if Max Vision has a show tonight, but if he does, go on over there and do some, work on your mind and do a little remote viewing. And don't forget,
he was on earlier today. I was actually on his show earlier today.
Oh, you were? Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so he already did a 3-hour thing. So I don't know if he's got that much energy to do another one tonight.
Yeah, check him out before somebody. I just didn't get a chance. But anyway, don't forget, everybody, join us tomorrow night. Yes. I'll be on with Nina. We'll be talking about the red heifer.
That's right. Don't want to miss this one, guys. Yeah.
Red heifer's a real red herring.
Yes, about it. So
it's a ginger cow, you guys. It's a ginger cow. We're going to talk all about it tomorrow night.
Exactly. So, well, with that said, everybody, the link is in the description here. Don't forget to watch tomorrow. I'll be on there. And thank you, Dalibor. And thank you, Nina, for being on tonight. Remember, everybody, go out and do something nice for somebody. It'll make your day. And if not, just do something nice for yourself and make your own day. Because you know what the biggest thing is? You want to be the frequency you want to receive, everybody. Love you all. Peace, everybody.
Ciao.